everybody, welcome to episode 158 of the Fiberista Files. Today is Sunday, August 17th, 2014. I'm your host, Heather, also known as Boutros Babe on Ravelry and Plurk, and Fiberista Files on Twitter and Instagram. You can find the shop at shop.highlyhandmaids.com. Welcome to the show. Most of you probably are returning viewers, so welcome back to another crazy episode. And if you're brand new and just joining me, it should be interesting. I am showing up free this week. Which is always a good time. This I don't predict to be a very long episode. There is going to be a review at the end, which we'll talk about in a minute. So stick around for that, but we're a little light on knitting content this week. So let's get started. Week in review. It has been about a week and a half, I think, since I podcasted last, trying to get back on a regular schedule. It was a pretty interesting week. My friend Alicia came up on Monday, and she had something she wanted dyed, and so I said, come on up and we'll do it. She was like, don't threaten me with a good time. So she came up and we dyed some things, and she had some yarn and fiber that she wanted dyed. We dyed up a little bit of mine, and we had a good time. She was here most of the day. I think she was here from like 10 to 4:30 or something. It's always good to have people come up and hang out and, you know, somebody that gets the madness that is my studio and my dyeing and all of that. So that was a really great time. She also got to play with my blending board, which was pretty cool. I love that thing. And then this past weekend, today's Sunday, so yesterday, Saturday, was the Color Me Rad, which is a race I did last year in Brunswick with my best friend Katie, JetGirl1313, hostess of Knitting on the Fly podcast, which you should be watching if you're not already. We did that again this year, and it was a much better experience this year than last year. Last year, the traffic was out of control. We were in traffic a total, I think, going in and coming out of over 4 hours. It was ridiculous. This year, we didn't have any traffic at all. It was, parking had changed. The race location had changed. Like, it was still at the former Brunswick Naval Air Station, but where the race ran was different, where the parking was different. They had police officers and volunteers handling traffic, and it was just a totally different experience this year. It was really, really nice. Katie did fly in again this year. I did not fly with her, but she flew in. That was fun. Flew out. She also ran with her GoPro camera, so when she gets to talking about the color run on her podcast, hopefully she'll include that video. Excuse me. I did take some photos, and I'm sure I will put them at the beginning of the video, so you've probably already seen them, my before and after shots. I was quite dyed. In fact, I'm still dyed. My back is still bright pink. One armpit is blue. I don't know how I got blue dye in my armpit, but I did. It doesn't come off just with scrubbing with soap and hot water. It's going to take longer than that. I did get it off my face and my arms, but other than that, I'm still quite dyed. But it was a lot of fun. I talked to you last time about how I run for a young girl named Emily, so I got to get Emily some swag, so I'll be sending that to her. So I ran for Emily, and I did the 5K in I think it was 31:19 after I'd mapped it all out. The race was longer than 5K, and so my time was a little off, so I had to go track it and use all my apps data. But I did it in 31:19, which is a minute faster than I ran it last year, but was not a personal record. My 5K record is 30 minutes and 47 seconds, so I'm still working on breaking the 30-minute mark. Hopefully that will happen this year. I met my 5-mile run goal. I have not yet met the beat 5K in 30 minutes yet. But I also got some swag from the race for myself. I got these awesome hot pink sunglasses, and I got a t-shirt, and I got a temporary tattoo and a sticker, and it was pretty rad. Hence the Color Me Rad name. Okay. That's pretty much all that's gone on this week. I have been doing a lot of carding and of bats and of pony style rollags, and I will be showing you some of those. A lot are up in the shop, and let's move on with the knitting and the spinning. The only knitting I have to show you this week is my Endless Rainbow cowl. I'm trying to get the Endless Rainbow done before Labor Day, which is the end of the official knit along between myself and Wendy Sillyfru, who, by the by, is injured right now, and she could totally use your love and support. So if you have a spare second to send her a message telling her that you're thinking of her and rooting for her. I'm sure that would be appreciated. She has a calf injury that she got doing yoga, of all things. So send her some love. That would be great. This is my endless rainbow. I counted my triangles last night so that I did not have to do it on the air. And I don't know. Let me lengthen that needle a little bit so that it hangs down. Here are my triangles. You can see them. I have completed the 31st triangle. So I am actually on, I am bringing the white down after that 31st triangle. So I have 2 triangles left after this. This is probably a couple of nights away from being done. I still have a butt ton of yarn to work with. This is the skein of the color, which you're supposed to use 60 grams of. I don't think I've used anywhere near 60 grams of this, but that's what they said. And then this is the undyed that I had 150 grams of that I'm working through as well. So I don't know if my shawl is, I haven't looked at the measurements for what Martina Bem said. I mean, it's not huge. It's probably, I don't know, about the size of, maybe shorter than my hitchhiker. Maybe I should hold it up against the hitchhiker maybe and see. But it's just going to be a shop sample, so I'm not worried about how it's going to fit like around my neck or whatever. But I am planning on doing 33 of the triangles because I'm 33. So I will use the leftover rainbow slushy yarn for hats or baby socks or something to that effect. I will find a use for the yarn, I've no doubt. That's pretty much the only thing I've worked on this week. Like I said, it's been pretty low on the knitting. I haven't traveled as much this week. We did go down south to Brunswick, well, to my parents in Gardner on Friday night, and then to Brunswick and then home. But on the way home, I was flipping exhausted. I mean, I ran the 5K, which is not unusual. I run 5Ks several times a week, but just, it's tiring to do a race. You have adrenaline and, excuse me, yeah, all the excitement and whatnot, and I crashed pretty hard on the way home, so I slept for more than an hour of the ride home, I think. Spinning. I do have spinning to show you, but it's over there, so give me 1 second, and I will be right back. So I finished the Highline Handmaid's purple bat. It was the first bat I ever made on my new drum carter. It is a progressive purple bat. It started with this very pale lavender, and then went into a darker lavender, and then into a lilac, and then like a grapey purple. So what I'm going to do is both of the light colors are on the inside, so it starts with the darker colors on the outside. So I'm going to two-ply this, the darker colors, and then they'll transition into the lighter colors. They don't really match, but I'm interested to see what the purples will do together. So that's going to be a two-ply that just has to be plied up. But it's going to have to wait a little while because I've already started my next spinning project. I literally finished one, went into my craft room, got fiber, and came back out and started spinning a new one. Because I've known for a while that I've wanted to work on this. Sorry for the crinkling. And so as soon as I had finished one project, I started this next one. This is a loop bat. It is my only loop bat. It was a gift. This loop bat is called Tiger's Eye. It is greater than or equal to 5 ounces of merino, bamboo, silk, and angelina. And it starts with a chocolate brown, which you can kind of see in this stripe. I'm just at the point where it's transitioning. So this chocolate brown turns into this pumpkin-y orange, and then it will go into gold, a very pale green, a limey green, and then this emerald green. And you can see it does have some sparkle in it. I'm spinning this very fine and as evenly as possible, and I am loving it. I will, of course, be Navajo plying this and making a gradient skein of yarn, which will become a shawl or something. We don't know. I'm very excited about it. Of course, while that was all going on, I did get some mail, and I'm going to save it for grabby hands. Where's the other bag? Right there. But I got a set of pony style roll legs myself from a friend, and I'll be showing you those because those will be next on the wheel as well. So that's been knitting and spinning. Now, shop updates, dye pots. I have been dyeing some new fiber. It is I think it's an 80-20 blend. I'm going to have to check, but I'm pretty sure it's an 80-20 blend of merino and dyed black tussa silk. So it looks like mixed BFL where it has like those dark streaks through it, but the black streaks are actually silk against the 80% ecru merino, which it's blended a little bit, so it's got kind of a heathered effect. I will go grab some in just a second to show you. I want to show you the colorways, but I want to tell you it's soft as merino, obviously, with some silk thrown in. So it's dyed black, so it's not super sheeny, but it really does amazing things to the color of the fiber. And I did some solids, and I did a variegated, and I have a little bit more of that to dye. So that's going in, as well as I have pony style Rolex and a bat to show you. So give me 1 second to go grab that fiber, and I'll show you what I've been cooking. Okay, so first I'll show you the variegateds. This one is called Knit Group Girls. It is a blend of navy blue, dark purple, green, and undyed sections. So here's the undyed section. You can see how the black silk transitions in there, and then if I hold it back, you can see how it makes the dye look. The other colored one, I don't have labels for most of these yet. This is... what did I call this? Aurora Borealis? No, what did I call it? Northern Lights, ha. And Northern Lights is a mirrored progressive. So it starts with this coral color, goes into a dark slate blue, a minty green, lighter navy-ish type style blue, or purpley blue, and then this brighter green here. And again, you can see how the dyed silk rather takes the dye differently. So that one is Northern Lights. Now I have a bunch of semi-solids. This is the only one that has a label so far. This one is called Pond Slime. It is a bright neon green, again with those black stripes. And you can see that it's somewhat blended because it does, the stripes do mute a little bit there at the end. These do not have names yet, but they're going to be equally gross things. Here's a bright red. Look how flippin' beautiful that is. I love the way the red took this. A bright blue, and a pumpkin-y, rusty orange. It's a little bit more red than what you're seeing there. So those are all going to go in the shop. I haven't priced them yet, but they're going to be obviously pretty reasonable because it's fiber, not yarn. Those will go in the shop today. I have photographed those. I just need to edit the photos and put them in the shop. In addition, I have this bat, which is called Midnight Madness, and looking at this is not going to do it justice because it's because of the way I carded this bat, but I'm going to show you a little bit here. So this bat is called Midnight Madness. You can see the green underneath there. What I've done is I've taken essentially the colors in Rainbow Slushy. I have been on a Rainbow Slushy kick like you would not believe. And what I did was, you can see here they're layered. I started with a layer of black on the drum carder, and then I put 3 colors of Superwash BFL. I put the hot pink, the orange, and the yellow. Put those on there. Carded that with black on top of that, so it was sandwiched in between layers of black. And then I put on the green, the blue, and the purple in order, and carded over that on, and then another layer of black. So there are layers of color in between, and there's 4 layers. There's 2 of the pink, orange, yellow, and 2 of the green, purple, blue. And so it looks like a black bat pretty much with a little hint of color. But as you spin it, it should barber pole with these bright pops of color similar to how this looks. So it should be, the handspun should, in theory, be black spiraled in with these bits of bright color. All of the stuff that's striped with black, of course you can spin it any way you want. There are no rules, but it looks very visually striking when you leave it as a single. So if you spin like a thicker single, use some of your lower ratios on your wheel or a heavier spindle, and then just soak it, and you can full it, which means to slightly felt the strands a little bit, or just leave it as it is depending on how tight your ply twist is or your spinning twist is. These make great singles. You don't have to, of course, but they're pretty awesome. And that bat is, I think, actually, I don't know how many grams it is. This bat is 98 grams, so it's almost 100 gram bat. And then the other thing I wanted to show you was a set of pony style Rolex. Now, I'm sorry for the bag. I need to buy bags that are a little bit firmer and work better for this, but as of right now, this is what I have, and I didn't want to waste time and not sell stuff because I don't have appropriate bags. So these are the bags that I keep my bats in. They're a little bit wrinkly, but this is a set of rainbow slushy Poonie style roll eggs. And you can see they're quite crazy. I just put the colors on in random places and let them go. And for some of the Poonie, roll it around this way. Like some of them, you can see there's big color blocking. There's sections of big purple or pink or whatever. And some places, the colors run over each other and they're more, I don't want to say muddled, but they're more intertwined. This is, I think it's 9 Poonie. Yes, there are 9 here. And this has a total weight of 54 grams. So that's 2 ounces of fiber. And that is, of course, Superwash VFL, which is what I did for the bat as well. Those are all going in the shop later today. I have upgraded the shop from 100 items to 300 items. That means that I pay a little bit more per month, but I've got a lot of stuff in the shop. And I don't want to keep running up against that 100 item limit because it keeps me from putting new stuff in this shop. So it's an extra $10 a month to have 300 items, which is the most I can have. And there's plenty there for you right now to look at. I think there's 80-something things in the shop right now. So take a peek. It is shop.highlyhandmaids.com, and you can purchase stuff anytime. My shipping is really reasonable. I ship quickly. I am home all day, so generally I take a trip to the post office every day. If I don't have the van, which my husband is taking to work right now, then I either take the dog with me and we have an adventure, or I get on my bicycle and I pedal my butt to the post office. So shop now. Shop early. highlyhandmaids.com. Okay, so that's dye pots. Processes and growth. I told you that I got accepted, I think, to Stitches East, so I'm starting to plan that. I've got some stuff carried over from Stitches South, not from Stitches South, from Fiber Frolic, which was in June. And most of that's yarn because fiber doesn't sit as pretty for as long. Like a skein of yarn twisted up won't show anywhere if it sits for a couple of months, but a braid of superwash merino definitely will. So I've kept over much less fiber. So I have a lot of fiber to do, and of course I'm dyeing for the shop as well as for shows, so you're going to see a lot of turnover in things. So if there's something that you want to see specifically, a base, a colorway, anything like that, just shoot me a message and let me know, and I will see what I can do to get that up. I do have one more set of monster skeins for Annie of Little Skein and the Big Wools monster kits. That will be the last set that I do for her. I'm just waiting on the yarn and fiber. And then after that, it's pretty much going to be show season for me. So that will be awesome. I think that was growth. I don't really have a process for you this week. I haven't yet made up the dummy Google spreadsheet yet to show you how I do multi-order shipping for club orders, but that is on the radar. I will be getting to that soonish. So that leaves Grabby Hands, and I have 2 things for you in Grabby Hands. The first one is a book review. It's the Mitered Square. No, now I can't remember the title of it because as soon as I try and tell you guys, I have a complete brain fart. Let me pull this up so I can tell you exactly what the title of it is. Sorry, dead air. The other thing I can show you while I'm looking that up. Oh no, hang on. It's gonna upload. Oh, library. It is the A Knitter's Gallery of Mitered Squares. 45 unique designs. Hang on, I can't read the whole title. 45 unique designs in color, texture, and lace by Jill Bigelow-Sattel and Jane Bigelow. And it is a paperback. It's from Cooperative Press. It's one of the books they sent me for review. So I'm going to talk a little bit about mitered squares, the patterns, all that good stuff. But I also want to show you that I got some fibery goodness in the mail. Now, if you've watched this podcast for any length of time, you know I very rarely buy yarn or fiber. There are a couple of exceptions. One of them is Keegan Lane Yarns. Now, I've done the trifecta of Awesome Yarn Club with Keegan Lane Yarns. So you've heard of Melissa or Amelia Bella before. But she started doing poonies, and in fact, she was the one who encouraged me to get a blending board to do poonies myself. So I owe all of the fun that I've been having with the poonie style roller legs to Melissa. So thanks, Melissa. You were a total enabler for me on that one. I got a special custom blend of poonies from Melissa, and of course they're in bags, so you can't see them terribly clearly. But this is hand-blended poonies. They are merino, silk, bamboo, and Polworth. 3/4 of an ounce, and the colorway is Lily Pad. It's beautiful muted rose and aqua and a gray, silvery gray green, burgundy. There's like a dozen colors in here, and they're so beautiful. Several shades of purple. They're just gorgeous. And I am going to spin these next on the wheel. I'm going to take the time spinning the loop bat to figure out what I want to make out of these, because I want it to be something wonderful, because Melissa is wonderful. So check her shop out. She is at keeganlaneyarns.bigcartel.com. Keegan is KEEGANLANE, yarns, YARNS, .bigcartel.com. Check out her shop. It is amazing. So, I'm going to do the review next, so if you're not going to stick around, if you already have the book or whatnot, I will say goodbye to you now, but I think you should stick around. Mitered squares, especially if you're using sock blankets and things, are great, but this book has a number of other things that you can do with them, which is always great, and some alternative techniques and things as well. So I want you guys to stick around for this review. As always, thank you to Cooperative Press for providing the book review. And if you're leaving now, I'll say, until next time, happy spinning and knitting, and thanks for tuning in. But don't leave. Stick around for the review. Okay, great. This is a review of A Knitter's Gallery of Mitered Squares, 45 unique designs in color, texture, and lace, written by Jill Bigelow Sattel and Jane Bigelow, and published by Cooperative Press. Okay, to start with, this book is a primer. It is a basic toolbox, as it were, of mitered squares, and is not designed to be a coffee table book or a piece of art or something like that. It is a how-to manual, and I just want you to be aware of that before you purchase it, because it is a little bit light on the artistic touches. The first chapter is really where the meat of mitered squares is, and then there are 3 different sections of squares: colors, textures, and lace squares. The third section is all the projects that you can create with them, and then the fourth one, which is the glossary, is just the standard definitions and abbreviations, and then there's one additional thing called Frosty Sunrise Triangles, so we'll get to that. So the first page, which is actually page 5 of the ebook, tells you what a mitered square is and how it works. So it flat out gives you the diagram and a photo of the square, and explains to you that mitered squares are squares that are created by decreasing 2 stitches in the center of every other row. Creates a square shape with the stitches set at the right angles to each other. The center decreasing creates a line stretching diagonally from cast on edge to the last live stitch. So the light blue line here on both the vertical and the horizontal edges here are the cast on edge, and it shows you how many rows there are and gives you a visual of what the photo is that you're looking, and you can see that that's exactly what it is. That's the basic, and then of course they're going to expand from there. It also tells you how to read the charts in this book. The charts look a little wonky. I'm going to show you one chart. Not because I want you to copy it, but because the no stitch symbol is basically a placeholder on the chart so that you can read straight across. And I want you to see that so you know what the heck that means, because for some people that can be a little complicated. These are charted squares. All right, so this is the sample square chart. You can see that there's white stitches and then these gray squares here, and very subtly on both edges are numbered stitches. All these gray squares here just mean that there's no stitch there. So as you cast on, you're going to find, like, this is the one side and this is the other side, and this will fold up into the triangle shape, the triangle of the square. So these gray stitches, you just ignore them. Like for this one, which is the just purl straight across, you just purl these number of stitches and then purl this number with a blank knit stitch there in the middle. You ignore all of the gray. Now, for some of us, that's really basic, obvious information, but for some people, it's not. And I did want to mention that before I got too involved. Okay, so the next part it talks to you about is how to pick up a square. There's two ways for you to pick up a square. You can, once you've knit your first mitered square, you can pick up stitches to knit a square to the left of it, or pick up stitches and knit a square to the right of it. And that will dictate the direction that it goes, depending on which side you're picking up and which side you pick it up on. You have to understand that the diagonal line is going to go in different directions. Okay, and it tells you that they can be oriented any way you like. It's not like they're giving you rules, but it does talk to you a little bit about that. And then it also says when you pick up stitches and then you knit them into the new square, you're going to pick up and knit, which is a PUNK. And it tells you how to do that. It says to insert a needle into both legs of the slip stitch or the stitch from the cast on edge and knit the stitch. Now they don't show what that means, inserting the needle into both legs. I'm actually a little unclear on that, but I'm sure there are tutorials that would show me how to do that. So anyway. Also shows you how to pick up on point. So if you wanted to do things so that the diagonal line that runs through the middle of the squares was actually vertical, it shows you how to do that. And then gives you how to do edges. So if you want to do just the half square, the triangles, tells you how to do the triangles both so that they're just slanted and that they have that center spine still, which is really helpful. And then it gives you a photograph. This is a photograph of a triangle of that same chart that I showed you before, which instead of being the square, which you see here or down here in the purple, it shows you how to just fill in the edge with that triangle piece. That's important if you're going to knit something like a blanket or a scarf or something that should have straight edges. And then it also talks to you a little bit about different ways to stack squares. So you can go knit the first square. The first square is always in the bottom right hand corner, and then you can go up 1, 2, 3, and then go to the left and knit 4, 5, 6 up. Or you can knit across, start at the bottom corner and knit to the left square and then a left square and then go back up to the first square and do them up on top. And it tells you a little bit, there are different stitches that you can pick up and knit, how to skip them or do what. How to do a reversible pick up and knit in case you're going to have a project that both sides are visible. It's fairly clever, but again, very straightforward and somewhat austere in its presentation. So now we're going to talk about color squares. This is a color square, and it just shows you that there's two colors there. Color square 2 switches by the halves, so half of it is green and half of it is purple. Color square 3 is a striped square. That one would probably be the easiest for beginners to handle, as is 5. The only difference between these, it's not in how you change the color, it's in the different designs between the colors that you're going to see. Color square 4 was mostly lace. This you can see is garter bottom and a stockinette top. 7 has offset stockinette and garter sections. So as you knit through the row, you're going to knit this garter in green, and then you're going to switch to stockinette in purple. Color square 8 has, it's all stockinette, but it's every other color, so it's almost a Fair Isle square. One actually has flowers in it, so it's an intarsia style knit. There's a chart for it, and it shows you there's like green grass with these 3 little blue flowers on a pink background. I really like that one. I'm not going to show you all the squares, but I do want to show you a couple that are really fun. This one is color square 12. It's all green, but the decrease line, that line through the middle, is a different color. And color square 13, which has squares within the square, which I also thought was really cool. So then we go into the texture squares. This one is plain garter. This one has baubles on it. This one has a basket weave pattern, again with a center stitch there in the middle that looks a little bit different. I like texture score at 25. It is almost, it's not in the lace section, but it almost has a lacy look to it. This one has some traveling stitches in it. I love this one. The twisted stitches on the pearl background is beautiful. And now we're into lace squares. This one's real simple. It's mostly garter. There's a couple rows here of a lacier look. This one has more of that square within a square look to it. There's 2 squares of lace and 2 squares of garter. This one has a center diamond in it. This one is quite lacy and open. Here's another one that I really, really like. I love these farrowed rows. Almost looks like a garden. And the 45th lace square is beautiful, as these rows of twisted stitches and garter in between with some real simple, it's called faggoting here in the middle. I love this. Simple yarn over, knit 2 together sort of stitch. Now come the projects, and there are several different projects in here that you can use, and you could switch out any of the squares for these ones. You don't have to use these squares, although that's how the patterns are written. It says, all of these projects in this book are meant to encourage creativity. Our hope is that you will take these patterns and experiment to make them your own. Some suggestions for changes will be listed at the front of each pattern. Frosty Sunrise, which is that one at the back, is the most basic pattern in this book. It combines 2 lace squares without any adaptation. One of the lace squares is divided into left and right side triangles. All of the squares are built on point and are worked in the same direction. So it says you can use the pattern to experiment with different combinations of squares. Adjust the length and width to make a scarf or an afghan. Try squares 20 and 21 for a similar look with no lace. So, sorry, my dog's barking. Here's a Frosty Sunrise. It is listed as a DK weight alpaca or alpaca blend yarn. And the gauge measured 4.5 inches point to point. Here's a photo, here's a chart of the wrap that you saw in the photograph, and it starts here at the bottom. And like they said, they're on point, so their triangles are on edge, so the decreased lines are vertical and goes all the way up to 80 squares. So, although it shouldn't be 80 full squares because they count the triangles as well, so it's fewer than that. Every 2 rows is 5 squares, so there's 58 squares, and then the rest are triangles. Harvest Celebration is another pattern. It is a table runner. This one uses color and texture squares, and you obviously wouldn't have to do that. The takeaway for me on this one is the garter stitch border. Here's another photo of it, and you can see that garter border quite well. Misty Valley is a mitered square front vest, and I'm not really going to talk about that one too much. Aurora Night is an all-over mitered square vest, or open front tunic, however you want to call it. The garments, I'm going to let you guys investigate the garments on your own. You can see project pictures on Ravelry as well, if you look this book up. All right, so here's your glossary. There are 2 pages. Most of them deal with simple but specific increase and decreases that you use in these squares. So it's worth taking a look at, especially just because you know what a left twist is does not necessarily mean you know what it means for these squares. So definitely take a peek if you're going to work with this book so that you know how to make your square look like the one in the photo. And then there's some back cover, which talks about it's the feedback page, gives you a little bit about the authors, and that's it. That's the 130th page. So that is my review of the Mitered Squares ebook, 45 designs, and you can pick that up from cooperativepress.com or purchase it on Ravelry.
Crowded by cataracts, not quite perfect yet. We've said our goodbyes 1,000 times. Butterfly wings thumping softly on the window, paint humming, we're driving sideways, our wrinkles looking past the billboard sign.